Well, so I have Mamavi here. Mamavi, good morning to you. How are you?
Good morning. I'm okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, waiting for the month to end quietly.
Oh, you make it feel sound as if it's January. I thought January had passed, so we don't have all those difficulties.
So, you know, when January passes, you want February to also quickly come and pass. Then you know you're settled.
I know, right? Okay, so we have a couple of the stories on the front and back pages. Let's look at the Daily Graphic first.
We have all the key newspapers.
Yeah,
Okay. All right, Daily Graphic newspaper. I take responsibility for actions of national security operatives, according to Colonel Michael Opoku. He's the first person to have appeared twice before the Commission of Inquiry looking into the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election violence. There's a picture of him on the front page of the paper, Colonel Michael Opoku, Director of Operations, National Security at the Commission of Inquiry into the Ayawaso West Wagon by-election. Sitting picture by Benedict Obuobi. Also on the front page, two former regents of Dagmon to secure or to occupy Myong and Savlugu skins. And then review contracts with Meridian Port Services. That's a call by the Trades Union Congress. Dr. Anthony Yauba, Secretary General of the Trades Union Congress, is on the front page of the paper. Also, London Stock Exchange to help deepen Ghana's financial markets. Listen attention to what's on the back page now. EPA issues ultimatum to companies and 34 communities connected to electricity in the eastern region. And when you check out what's in the center spread, it says work progressing on N4 footbridges. Wisconsin rewards 4 with scholarship for universities placement in context. There are a lot more stories in the Daily Graphic, but for now, that's the headlines that we're looking at.
Yeah, let's go to the Ghanaian Times. It has on the front page, and this is the Ghanaian Times, has on the front page, to ensure economic accountability of petroleum. And we already know that as a result of that, PIAC Yoko, they launched a joint probe into petroleum management funds, those that could not be accounted for. Dr. Steve Mantia, we brought you that story in the latest news update for the morning. We also have President gives Kumasi SDGs document, or President receives Kumasi SDG documents. And then we have review contract with Meridian Port Services, MPS, and we know that they are doing the Tamai Expansion Port Project. TUC appeals to government. I didn't insult national security operatives, and that story is attributed to Sam George. He appeared before the Emil Short Commission of Inquiry. Okay, those are the stories we have on the back page, though. On the back page, we have the story. West African countries urge to strengthen trade activities. Traditional food vendors in Zongo schooled. It has an accompanying picture of Dr. Mustafa Hamid, who is the Minister for Zongo Development. That's the Minister for Inner City and Zongo Development. We have the dispatch. Let me quickly do the dispatch before Mama get on to the next one for her 10. We have the Daily Dispatch newspaper. And on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper, we have JDM's running mates. And it seems to be mentioning Kwesi Ahoy. It has an accompanying picture. We also have Kwesi Opong Fosu. We also have Julius Deborah, as well as Amaboa, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa. It says national chairman being from Eastern region likely to affect Deborah's chances. You have to get to the back page of the paper to get a full story. And then we also have Mahama urged to focus on MPP government than Akufo-Addo and MPA safety tips, all on the front page of the Daily Dispatch newspaper. Mamavi, you're ready with the next one?
Yes, I've got to find the newspaper. On the front page, $1 billion for new rail network. First phase of Kumasi to Paga section to get $500 million. And yesterday, I shared with you how the finder captured some trash refuse in front of the Jubilee House and the Army officers' mess. Well, just as we predicted, and indeed later on in the day, the editor of the Finder kept updating because cleaners had gotten to the site to collect the refuse and to keep the place clean. So there's an update in today's paper. It says Jubilee House frontage, Army officers' mess, rubbish cleared. But how often Or where do we have our eyes everywhere as media for us to be reporting on these things before the right thing is done? That's the worry, because left to the managers alone, it would not be done until somebody takes a photograph of it and puts it out there, and then we talk about it. Really sad. Also on the front page, Ghana poised to become financial services hub in Africa. All right, I guess by way of the front page headlines, I am done with the Finder newspaper. Roland.
Well, so let's look at the Daily Guide newspaper. Has on the front page, Sam George dodges 40 flying bullets, movie style. And then we have London Ghana markets collaborates and Yoko Boss retires. Opuni trial, this is the front page of the Daily Guide newspaper. It says, Opuni trial, no literature on fertilizer. TMA Chop ex-mayor Hort and mafia group invades Gbane mining area. On the back page, it's all sports. I'll get you up to speed with that very soon. But we have the center spread. They call it the News One pullout of the Daily Guide newspaper. And it has... story. It says Papa Shi chases delay over an aired interview. Papa Shi back in the 90s used to be one of the top hottest at the time, I think, hip life. Yeah, hip life artists of the time.
He granted an interview and
he's a pastor. He says. Yeah.
I don't know if you're going before delay. You should know that you could come up with everything and anything, and you're ready to either talk about it or lie about it.
Yeah, it says Papa Shi chases delay over an aired interview. He granted, according to him, delay has been holding on to the interview for far too long. Speaking on it, he was interviewed about 4 months ago. Okay. We have Akosio Usua joins highly spiritual music. And then we have other stories. London Ghana market collaborates. And Maslop, according to the center spread, a story of the Daily Guide newspaper, is said to be recovering more loans. So on the back page of the Daily Guide newspaper, we have more sports stories. It says Eric Bequin faces Prince Tego in a special Kotoko Hearts clash. We have all set for Independence Day Rambo, and why Kotoko slipped in Zambia. They lost 3-1. When they visited Zambia over the weekend. Che ends long wait for Masters. We're talking golf. We're not
all right, let me do the Daily Statesman newspaper, the last paper that I will do. Front page of the paper, Opuni Agongo suffer legal blow. They were in court yesterday. The paper says, judge rejects key evidence for the defense. London Stock Exchange to help Ghana deepen markets. UN sustainable goals are concrete. SDGs have meaning for real lives, says our President Akufo-Addo. And aquaculture for food and jobs program soon takes off. All right, on the back page, Tyson vs. Bruno, 30 days on from a Las Vegas bout, which captivated Britain. It covers the entire back page of the paper.
Wow. We have the last paper, the Custodian newspaper, has on the front page, Akufo-Addo Mahama face-off in rematch battle. Rumble in the jumble of politics, if there's anything like that. So we have Yoko Boss retires February 28th. You have a picture there of outgoing executive director of Yoko, KK Amwam. And LSC, that'll be London School of Economics. Ghana to develop capital markets. Bank of Ghana moves to stabilize cedi against the US dollar. And those are the stories. Back page. Oh, we have Liverpool must deal with title tension, according to Klopp. It seems to have this jitters. Each time they're closer to the title, haven't not won it over 20 years ago. The last time they won it was back in I think around 1992 or something. So I'm not too sure. Man United trial injured. It's also a story occupying the back page of the Custodian newspaper. And player mutiny at Chelsea. Oh, this is what happened. The Chelsea was goalkeeper was supposed to have been substituted. The coach called for him to be substituted, and he kind of refused or something of the sort. Well, both of them have come out to say it was just a miscommunication. I don't know. The body language was just not right. I don't know about all that. Okay, Mama V.
Yeah, okay, we'll give you an update in the ongoing Nigerian elections. Results are coming in. Mr. Buhari is taking the lead, but don't be too excited yet if that's
Nobody's
your candidate.
excited, but it looks like...
because it's only not even half
of the state.
Of the state, exactly. And you know that Nigeria is vast, exactly.
Big.
But there are already allegations, you know, here and there.
Allegations.
Yeah. So we'll give you a little updates of some of the places that...
Yeah, and talking about that, you know, prior to the start of the election, there already were accusations on both fronts. The APC and the PDP had been accusing each other, either falsifying results, even though the elections had not been convened yet. They were saying that tension was being created in areas and so not creating an atmosphere for free and fair. And then when the election started in earnest, after a week of postponement, there seemed to have been some areas which had difficulties, ballot boxes, shots, blasts, and things being reported sporadically, if not sparingly, in some of the areas. But again, the conclusion that many people who observe elections across the world, especially in areas which usually would have witnessed turmoil before getting some stability when it comes to issues of election and the politics of the democratic dispensation, was that if you have some of those incidents, but they don't amount to many, then you can say that the election was free and fair. And I think that largely this Nigerian election, following the last one as well, has been free and fair.
That's what observers are largely saying if you monitor. Okay, let's do the local stories now. I've got the Daily Graphic newspaper. Roland, you want us to talk about it, right? I take responsibility for actions of national security operatives, Colonel Michael Opoku. But if you read the headline, it sounds like, oh yeah, that's exactly what he said. But he had to actually be pushed and be coached into getting to this point by Professor Henrietta Mensah. But I feel like, you know, I am worried, particularly because
I like him. He's a tough man.
No, I don't think that's toughness. Because see, the military, there's one thing that we know about our traditional military people. I mean, they know exactly what they have done. They know when to take responsibility. You know, like it flows. It's not like this one that, so do you take responsibility? Okay, not exactly. But who, you know, like, you know, that kind of thing before you finally get there. Like, you know, it wasn't cool for me, but I love Professor Henrietta Mensah Bonsu. I like the place where she comes from, and I like the place where she takes these people. And I'm looking forward to her questioning Sam George today, because, you know, he comes back today at 10 a.m. He will be the second person to appear the second time after Colonel Michael Opoku yesterday. Yeah. I'm worried because he, as a director of operations, has not bothered to look into, you know, because we have the bigger CID investigating, but as a unit, if you went for an operation and you didn't quite succeed because you had a mission, there was an objective before you set off. And so if you couldn't succeed, irrespective of what, internally, you should also look into it. But he appeared yesterday and it sounded like the unit simply didn't care. Nobody wanted to do anything about it. And it comes back to, you know, the many things that our security agencies do, and then we assume, thinking that they've got structures and they're going to either account or try and get into, maybe not necessarily finding who did what to punish, but just have a documentation of the operation and what went wrong. And, you know, so that next time you learn from it. Apparently, we don't do anything like that, at least not with what we have seen in this one. And that's my disappointment, greatly disappointed, because it's been 3 weeks. And if this commission had not been put in place, can you imagine? And as usual, as for our CID, they won't update us. So they will tell us nothing, as if the commission is working for them. But no, the commission is doing its work. But CID, Ghana Police Service, it's as if nothing happened in Ayawaso West. They won't tell us nothing. Yeah.
Well,
that's sad.
What the events of the last day has shown me up to today is that the complete lack of communication among the security structures to the general public. It's something that they still don't seem to think that they have to shake themselves off from. Because, you see, since 1992, when we had, of course, the transition by 1993 to practice democracy, we should have known by now that we have checked all the relational issues we have with either a military dictatorship or military regime, and so we tend to confine it. But it looks as if you look at the structures of security and the agencies of states that are in charge of security, we still have these remnants of either a military dictatorship or a military regime, and presently we don't have that sort of communication that should be coming to the public. The public really needs to be informed about many things that are being taken in respect of their security, except the ones that they don't have to know, per what the regulations or the laws we have say. Now, if you look at what happened or transpired on that day, and the sense of responsibility that needs to be carried on the shoulders of those who have the responsibility for those institutions, it doesn't seem to be coming. And so that leaves us questioning, really, those who have been appointed to be heads of those institutions, are they working for us, or they are working for those who appointed them into those offices? And I believe it should be a concern for those who appointed these heads into those institutions. And if somebody who even is from a military background, and we know that the military, based on the structure of the way they report and give orders, and the way those orders are reported back to them after they've been undertaken, seem to be giving us this sort of communication by way of body language and the way they are speaking. I don't think that somebody will be far from wrong if they get to the conclusion that it looks like the civilian political elite seem to be influencing so many things in our country that it's doing more harm than good. Because the security of the people, if it's in jeopardy, then it also means that your own security is also in jeopardy.
Looks like they don't think about it that way, but I thought that if you were in a very strict, disciplined environment where structures work, if you were taken from that place to another place, you would replicate. Because, you know, there's something that you bring on board and you have to let us see it. But if you go and you become just like everybody else and there's no accountability and you sound simply like you don't care, I mean, it's like the minister must investigate or that kind of thing. I mean, like you are the operations guy. You send the SWAT commander to go and do a job, even though you gave him discretion, you know, on the field because you were not necessarily there. But once the mission, even if the mission had been completed, are you saying that you would not do any investigation to see what worked, you know, what didn't quite, you know, that kind of thing? Are we saying that? And more so, this didn't succeed. This was a failure. It was a total failure. And you don't care about looking into it when this operation was not in conjunction with the CID. Remember, CID is only investigating because of the incident that happened in terms of the gunshots and the injuries that were recorded. That's what they're investigating.
And Mamavi, I'm even worried that, especially having some of these so-called heads of the institutions coming before a commission of inquiry, for which, for those who tend to study law and practice law and what the Constitution says, has the powers of equivalent to a high court. And you get to find in the body language that the answers don't, or the responses don't seem to synchronize. And we seem to be inconsistent with the narrations.
It's just the culture of accountability
yes,
that we don't have.
And also we seem to be withholding information. Then I feel, where else are you going to say it except here or apart from this place? And if you're not saying it here, then it means that it's never going to be said at all.
That's it. That's it. That's why I've always said that this is way better than the criminal investigation.
So you know, I have friends who call me, and many of them lawyers, and then they tell me, oh, this one, we've seen it before, it's never going to end anywhere. But I think that it's good that we're hearing the stories. Yeah. It's more fulfilling and healing for all those who went through those traumatic scenes. Sometimes I can associate with some of the things that have been said about the traumatic scenes, and if you've been through some of those stress situations, they tend to stay with you each time you hear triggers about maybe it's a gunshot in your area or something. You tend to relive such situations. And if people cannot realistically just be truthful, or perhaps just be plain and say, look, this one we aired. We feel based on what the standard operating procedures were, the modus operandi for this operation that was undertaken, perhaps we could have done it better. We need that sort of ownership. We also need a sort of candor for people to come out and for us to feel that, look, it was just an operation that went wrong, went bad, and that's why the commission is there, trying to relook it, have a relook into all the situations that may have played out on that day. And that's the public needs to know what they have to know, so that the next time when something is wrong, they know that this situation is a wrong situation.
Yeah, it's almost like either a murder trial or something, you know, where people appear and they are so cautious instead of, you know, tell us exactly from your point of view how things unfolded, what you learned from the officers that you put on the field. But thanks to the good job from the members of the commission, at least we are getting something. And for me personally, even if nothing comes out of it, at least when I'm talking, I have examples. I have, you know, usually you say, oh, critics say or they say, but I can always use the example of this commission and what some of the people have appeared before it and what they've said and how they've said it. At least I can talk and make reference, you know. So, yeah, whichever way. So it continues today. And Sam George, oh, my gosh. So I've got a question. You know how do you call those things? Is it the shells?
The casings.
The casings, thank you. Was the police
could be shells, could be casings.
Okay, was the police looking for it? Like, you know...
I'm sure because I remember when the head of the national security outfit came, that'll be Colonel Michael Opoku, or Colonel Michael Opoku said they found 6, right? We've had a number 7 also said. That's the number of shots. So at the end of the day, I don't know whether this got me thinking. Maybe they were trying to find the casings and never found them, and because if you take a real look at what and the time that it took for those shots to be fired, it was between 15 to 20 minutes. So I don't know whether 6 or 7 shots could have been fired. So it means that you hear gugum one, then you wait maybe another 5-6 minute gugum. So, but this was something you were hearing consistently. You know, I think the commission also needs to establish, because by the close of that day, communication has started filtering in about so-called arms that maybe those in the household or the house of the candidate of the NDC may be having. Were there arms found? If the arms...
I mean, you know the story already, right? They said they couldn't succeed in opening the so-called warehouse. So they retreated.
Okay.
So maybe if individuals were wielding arms that I'm not sure, but I don't think anybody has said that. But I can't help it but bring the military into this again. You remember there
was a military person who was part of the...
You remember the Michelle Camp thing?
The Armory.
The Armory, and how they were there the following morning to even show to residents some of the things that may have either through the blasts probably gone into homes and other places, and they were showing them and saying that if you found any of these things,
please bring
it to us. I mean, CID is investigating, right? Are they investigating? Are they missing things that they want the public to help them find, knowing that this is a residential area, so things may have flown to places and blah, 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 blah. Are they looking for anything, really?
You know, the last time...
I shouldn't use the military. Military is the standard, but they are not a service. They are a force.
Yes,
definitely. So I shouldn't be using them when I'm talking about Ghana Police. Ghana Police should be, you know, the one that
you can easily have an encounter with.
But it's a shame. Now they are...
Just like their no-go area.
No, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But you know the last time I said, even though the communication is out there and there's research that is backing this commentary that we have a lot of arms in our communities and across the West African sub-region, either because of the conflicts in the Sahel or Northern Africa, you get to find that there are specific weaponry or arms that you can easily trace to institutions in our country.
Yeah.
They can't be in private hands, or if they are found in private hands, they could have been from anywhere except from the armory of security agencies. And so you can easily trace which guns these casings were coming from.
Yeah.
2, normal operation procedure, standard operating procedure that is undertaken by all the security agencies is if a personnel goes to sign on, a gun or the bullets or whatever it is that they have to take from the armory of any of the agencies, they sign in. And then when you come back, you sign off. If any was used, you state reasons why you used it, where it was used, you have to account for it. So they already have processes of accountability. If those processes seem not to be mentioned or seem to be missing in the accounts of the commission, then at least many people wondering. So is it that people don't want to tell the commission that we have already the operating procedures, but we just don't want to mention them?
The kennel brought along a logbook, correct?
Okay.
But
yes,
I think the SWAT commander is supposed to furnish us with a lot more details or something of a sort. Okay, we wait to see how things
do they use really the logbooks?
I don't know. It looks like accountability is what we're asking for, and if there is no system that checks you, then we're in trouble, right? There's an interesting story away from this commission of inquiry. There's a story in the Finder newspaper, just to move away from all the heat in the commission. A trader who allegedly slashed the palm of an unemployed man during a fight over a woman yesterday appeared before a circuit court in Accra charged with causing harm. Mauli Nuchiga informed the courts that he pulled a cutlass in self-defense and pleaded guilty with explanation to the charge. Nuchiga said there had been a dispute between him and the complainant, one Solomon Teria, since January 14 this year. According to Nuchiga, he caught Teria spying on him and his fiancée while they were conversing in his room. Nuchiga said in February this year, he was in his room with a fiancée when Teria came and knocked on the door, demanding to see one Salamatu Abdulaziz, who the two of them are each claiming to be his fiancée. Nuchiga said after allowing Teria to talk to Salamatu, now at large, Nuchiga said Teria pounced on him, causing injuries to his hand, head, and face. Nuchiga said he then pulled the cutlass in self-defense. According to Nuchiga, he was, however, paid 300 Ghana cedis as part of the medical bills of the complainants. The court, presided over by Mrs. Jane Harriet Akwelekwe, after listening to his explanation, entered a plea of not guilty on his behalf. You can read the rest of the story. It's interesting. So two people fighting over one woman, and then one using the cutlass to fight back, and he's pleading, the use of the cutlass is defense. So interesting. You can read on. It's in the Finder newspaper.
I think I want to conclude with the front page story of the Finder about
the refuse.
No,
okay.
$1 billion for new rail network. First phase of Kumasi to Paga section to get $500 million US. Yes, I know the things that we have, and this is just a good thing for Ghana. I tend to discuss a lot with my friends, especially those who live in the UK. Kojo Menu, Ben, good morning. Kojo to 4 Menu. Somebody I always discuss this with, why we still don't have rail. And if we're going to have this, and we say that 1,394 kilometers by end of 2020, that'll be a good thing. I remember I started hearing this from when President Kufuor came into government. We heard it from Atta Mills, John Mahama, and subsequently we're hearing from the president.
We relaunched the whole system sometime this year, right? There's a train that's supposed to be moving from, the one that served all the snacks and things on board, the one that I said we would join one of the days.
So no, the Sakumono
I think
one.
it's Sakumono.
They're not as approachable now to this. It's not the same one.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
We still should experience it.
Yeah, we'll do that
and see how
we have to go and experience.
Because it is only the success of that's when we can begin to have.
That one is, it's something we've been doing all the time. So
okay.
It's already an existing.
So you can't use
we need new routes. The thing is, if somebody is in Boku or somewhere, that person should be able to drive quickly to the next rail station and say that I'm taking a train either to Kumasi or to Accra. And I don't see the reason why we can't do it. Ethiopia has done it. Kenya has done it. Nigeria has done it. We should be able to do it. It's not wrong.
So this is the big plan?
The beginning of the big plan.
The beginning of the big plan. All right.
Yeah. So we're hoping that this will come to fruition. So if this is not done, we're saying an amount of 500 million US dollars will be applied to the development of the Western Rail Line. The remaining 500 will be applied to the first phase of the Kumasi to Pagasek. This is where I have a problem. First phase. Because I remember when we were doing the road, Accra to Kumasi, the phases were many. So first phase will be how many? And where is it going to... And we need really to invest in this.
So you take your time and absorb what is there. We can have a longer conversation on this issue. I see that you're excited about it.
But this is good. I'm excited about it.
Okay. All right, let's quickly talk about Nigeria. So we said that, you know, we haven't had, at least, and I'm picking this from the BBC because we're not there. It says President Muhammadu Buhari has taken an early lead as votes are being counted in Nigeria's general election amid allegations of manipulation. So Mr. Buhari has won 7 of Nigeria's 36 states, while his rival Atiku Abubakar took 4 states and the capital Abuja. But we know that it is huge. So these figures in terms of 7 out of 36 may not be significant, or 4 out of 36. So we still wait to... It's really slow, the whole counting process, you know, getting to know the results. Because what? It was Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Today's Tuesday. All right. So you can... Yeah. Okay. Now, one more issue I thought that we could discuss just before we rise. We know that the Catholic Church... worldwide in recent years faced a damaging series of allegations relating to sex abuse by priests, right? Yeah. And claims that these cases were covered up. I was monitoring a conference over the weekend where Pope Francis was, you know, reiterating some of the things that they've been saying, that they should be concentrating now on the victims of these allegations. All right, even though some people say, oh, they've always said it, they've done very little to protect the victims, and then the perpetrators usually are still at posts. But the news that's coming out is that Cardinal George Pell has been found guilty of sexual offences in Australia, making him the highest ranking Catholic figure to receive such a conviction.
Yes.
He will be sentenced on Wednesday.
Yes, definitely. That'll be tomorrow.
So the issue that got him to this point is the fact that 2 young guys, I think they were what? Okay, not quite sure about the age, whether it's 11 or 13, in the choir.
He caught them.
Yes,
drinking
exactly.
Communion wine.
Communion wine, and as the, you know, as a form of punishment, according to the narration, he made them perform all sorts of sexual acts on him. He's denied it, by the way. One of the boys died in 2014, but the other one, you know, who is still alive is the person who gave testimony. They tried to go through this process and it didn't quite conclude, but this is the one that's convicted him. And I was listening to a man who's also been abused, allegedly been abused before, and he says this man back in Australia, because he was the Archbishop of the church,
was the one who encouraged him.
Was the one, exactly, he was the face, he was the one who was always appearing in the media and encouraging those who have been abused to come out, and to think that he himself has been convicted for an act like this. They are pushing for a custodial sentence. So that's it. By
the Treasury boss of the Vatican. You can imagine.
You know, like
it speaks volumes about the confidence we have in the church, and some of the things that sometimes are found out and reported. It's just gruesome and horrid. Yeah. But that's where we have to make way for sports. Benedict also is in with the latest. Stay with us.